Hello, this is the podcast from the international research platform SIMM, with reports and interviews from across the world on the role music can play in social and community programs. I am Lucas Perron. This episode of the SIMM-podcast is presenting the French social music program DEMOS, an initiative launched by the Philharmonie de Paris in 2010. We interview its co-founder and director Gilles Delbar, as well as its research coordinator Indiana Wollman. The program DEMOS is in its 11th year. It offers young children instruments and music lessons for free. DEMOS has spread all over France and the French territories, now involving more than 6,000 kids. More and more fine musicians are interested to involve themselves in educational and social work, also at the Philharmonie de Paris. At first, the aim of DEMOS was to make classical music accessible to children who would not otherwise have come in touch with it. DEMOS is aimed at children from 8 to 12 years old. They get about 4 hours music training a week. During their 3 years of training, the kids are always experiencing music in group situations. These music programs are proposed to kids who live in lower income neighborhoods, but these neighborhoods are socially mixed. For DEMOS, the composition of the groups is of great importance. They make sure the groups are socially mixed. Some kids may have social and financial challenges, while others have fewer difficulties. The aim is to enhance the ability to look at others positively. The short music extracts you will hear during this episode were recorded during concerts of different DEMOS-orchestras during their end-of-season concerts last month at the Philharmonie de Paris. Hello, Gilles Delbar. And maybe you're not exactly the founder of DEMOS, but almost. No, you've been there from the beginning. And what is DEMOS all about?
I can say I'm one of the founders of DEMOS. It was created in 2010. And the main idea at this moment was to do something with classical music in relation with the project of the Philharmonie of Paris, who is situated in the east of Paris, really near the disadvantaged neighborhood of the east. The Parisian east side. So it was the first thing. The first thing was to show that classical music must be accepted, must be played and practiced, and people can enjoy if they live in this kind of area. It was the first idea, but the second idea was to say it's possible that with music we can do something for our country, for our nation, to create a kind of, we can say, common history between people that we say they are really separated. The most first thing one of the first aim of DEMOS is to fight against what we can call us and the others. You know, that's very important. I think it's really important to practice art in the education, because I think when you practice art, you develop a lot of things which is very important to be a citizen. You know, for cognitive reasons, you can play music and learn a lot of things. We can compare playing music and learn mathematics, but that's not the main thing. For me, the main thing is arts can develop empathy. You can identify when you have yourself, your own emotions, you can identify this emotion in the others and be aware that you are really human beings like the others. It can seem naive, but that's really what I have in my mind when I conduct this kind of projects. That's real things.
But that doesn't come that easy, because learning to master an instrument and a repertoire takes time.
The main things for me is that you can have emotion with a few, not a lot of techniques, of musical techniques.
Already from the beginning, when you...
Already from the beginning. That's the main thing in our pedagogy. Pedagogy?
Yes, pedagogy.
In our pedagogy, because we think that musical, artistic emotion can arrive from the beginning, from the first song, to be very calm and to listen in the silence if you can hear things around you.
Experiencing the silence is already...
It's already...
An interesting experience. Yes.
Absolutely.
And already a musical experience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the second thing, it's better when you learn. More you learn, more you can feel. That's really what we try to give to children a chance to have this kind of perceptions. And we hope that after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they really understand that they have to do a lot of things by themselves. That's the main idea from our pedagogy.
So the program lasts for, it's for small children, huh? It's for...
Their age from 7 to 12 at the beginning, and at this moment we pay attention to the fact that there are more or less 7, 8 or 9 at the beginning, because if they want to follow the practice, it's better for our French system of musical education in conservatoire.
Mm. And so when they're 12-ish, around 12 years old, then the program stops, and then they may continue in a music school or...
Absolutely. We have exception, especially here in Paris, but not only that they can integrate music school or conservatoire, but we offer possibility to continue with us during session holidays, some summer school or something like that, and that's very interesting. So they can play in orchestra after the parcours in DEMOS.
Yes, a parcours, yes, and there's a lot of French and English. DEMOS has become very big, in fact, in those 11 years now.
Yes.
And so it's a big network of people making music and involving also not only anymore the Philharmonie de Paris, but you have many partners within the whole of the country and even outside of the country, but for the French territories.
Now we have something like 50 orchestras in whole France, all regions of France, and a bit in Outre-mer, La Réunion and La Guadeloupe. And the idea is that the Philharmonies will let people organize demos themselves with our help. That's what we do at this moment. But what it's important to say that it seems very big. Oh, excuse me. It seems very big, but that's not so big. It's that 5,000 children, and if you compare to dispositives like this in South America, that's really less. But the main interest that's when we speak about demos, we don't speak only about people who are directly involved. What gives this impression of big network, that the reason is that we work very hardly with people in the regions to create something really dynamic with the project. It doesn't concern only the 100 children who are involved in one demos orchestra. That's the reason.
Yes, that's also why I use the word network, because I see that it's not only involving the orchestras themselves, but the whole world around these orchestras, and not only the music schools, the local music schools, but also local authorities and cultural center and social work is an important partner. Right? Can you say something about this? Because this is also very specific for demos, that it's from the beginning a very close collaboration between artists, between musicians, and social workers, educators.
Yes, that's one of the main things too, because when we begin the project, we know, a lot of us, we know that there was a problem in France with culture and democracy. We realized that from the beginning, from Malraux to Jack Lang, that people think that professional in the cultural competence, with cultural competencies, can do something by themselves with children who lived in disadvantaged areas. And we think from the beginning that's the reason why it doesn't work so well, because when the project is finished, everything is finished. And our idea is to think about that and say, if we work with children but also with parents, and it will be more efficient. And that's the reason why people who work with parents are social workers. And so we say, if we want really to create a dynamic in a neighborhood, we need this professional to work with us. And I think we had the good feeling of in relation with this idea.
The social workers and the musicians, do they get some form of training or accompaniment?
Yes, absolutely. Not a lot, because I think we have to do something when people begin their formation, when they are not professional.
So at the conservatory level, when they start their music education, and also at the social school.
Absolutely, I think. But we do it in the project, and it's quite important. It's several days a year when we gather people.
Yes, like seminars or so.
Yes, seminars. We call it practice exchange seminars and something like that.
Yes, and something else which I hear is important in demos is that you're also treating your personnel, I mean, like the musicians and social workers, very well in terms of their finances, which is an important, it's special element, I think, because this is often a critique which is expressed towards this kind of work. I call it social music work projects. Is that it's inviting people to do the work for nothing or for very little money, and so often young people who come in and out, and but in demos that's very different. I was told.
Yes, it's a pleasure to hear that, but I want just to say that that's not so much because we ask people to do the hard work. We ask musicians to think a lot about the project. That's the reason why we decide to pay people quite well, because the idea is you will be in relation with children, and you will be in relation with them 4 hours a week. But we think you need 8 hours a week to prepare and to do this thing very correctly. And you have to exchange with social worker, and you have to exchange with your colleague, because these simple things, to work with a colleague and with children, it can be very difficult. That's not in the French professional culture, and
so that makes me think that it must be also very interesting to do this type of work, because in comparison with if we take the musicians, in comparison with only teaching at a music school, because here, well, maybe it's more work, and let's forget about the finances, but it's more work, but it's also much more diverse work, and bringing you into worlds that are very different from the world you know yourself. So it must also be interesting, and for musicians, and I guess also for social workers, to be involved in this
yes,
this program.
It's really creative. It's an experimental project. So you have to think about it. You have to create. You have to exchange, like I told you before, and that's the reason why I like this project, because I think that people do that really in this project. They do creative things, and that's very important. When you work, it's important to be creative.
They changed as a musician also in their career as a musician on stage, in their relation not only with the audience but also in relation to the music itself.
Yes, and in relation to the chief, to the conductor, and
yes. and the other musicians in a small ensemble. Yes. Yeah. Diana Bouwman, you're here in at the Philharmonie de Paris for the DEMOS program. You're in charge to coordinate the research program. I know DEMOS as a project, I would say an exceptional project in terms of its interest in research. And I believe, if I'm right, that this interest in research and invitation of having outside researchers come in and follow up on the program was there from almost the very beginning of the program. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true. And the ethos of DEMOS is to bring music into lower income areas. So from this, the DEMOS project has several major objectives, which are impact positively children and their families, contribute to renew the music education field, and boost the dynamics of a territory.
That's quite a program.
Yeah. And because the project pursues several objectives, those goals need to be challenged and questioned in order to improve our contribution to the development of the project. And
So you need critical research from outside.
yeah, critical research.
Not only monitoring, not only evaluation, but
absolutely
critical research from
because
outside.
for us research is fundamental. Perhaps I should talk about how research is organized within the project.
Yes.
And impact studies, which often allows the quantitative measurement of the impact of demos on mainly the direct beneficiaries,
The kids.
the kids, but it can also be on their families, on the professional.
Also on the musicians and the social workers who are doing the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So research is a mix of both descriptive and impact assessment, and of course we have to promote our work to funders, to donors. But I'm convinced that both descriptive and impact studies can serve critical thinking. It depends on how you use it, how much you want to invest on these questions to use the results. But it's not only a question of measuring the impact, but also it's also to understand the changes in what
And
you
how
measure.
things work or don't work. So you're interested in critical reviews, and because it can allow you to adapt certain elements of the program.
Yes, that's right.
Are you working with certain research teams which follow the DEMOS program for a longer time, or are the researchers coming in and out?
Most of the time they are coming in and out, but some of them followed the project for quite a long time. Some researchers follow the project for 2 phases. And
Which is
perhaps,
that's a really good period of time then. That's 5 to 6 years then.
exactly. And perhaps they will come back at some point in the future. But now we have new researchers working with us who are discovering the project. And I think after 10 years, it's also a good thing to start something from scratch again with researchers. Studies are conducted on 2 levels in the project. We have local studies and national studies. What we call local studies are those studies which take the form of a monograph.
Concentrating on a particular program in a particular city or...
Exactly, because we are working with 45 orchestras right now. So we have monographs of an orchestra in a given territory. And national studies, research can be conducted in different fields of research, from the humanities and social sciences to cognitive neuroscience. I think good research on such a project, a research that can be useful for the project, for both critical thinking and impact assessment, which is also important. So good research is that the interface is a mix of research from all these fields. And placing research as at the crossroads of those fields and levels in the project is very complex, and that's why we set up a scientific advisory board.
And that's why you are here also.
Yes, to coordinate.
Yes.
And this...
Who is member of the advisory board?
So we have 7 prominent researchers with contrasted backgrounds who can all together monitor and survey all aspects of the programs. They help us design the scientific strategy of DEMOS.
Do you have publications that come out of some of these research?
Absolutely, and it's fundamental. So, if you want an overview of research that was conducted on DEMOS, I encourage you to visit our webpage dedicated to research and evaluation on the DEMOS website.
Yes. The 2nd and 3rd of November, we will organize together the 6th symposium, yearly symposium, which will be in Paris at the Philharmonie de Paris. What do you, as a coordinator of research for DEMOS, expect from such an international conference?
So for me, it's very important to regroup researchers who are interested in those questions of social impact of music. And this particular symposium is very interesting to me because it's one of the aspects of the program we are now focusing on, the impact of the project on the professional practices.
Uh-huh.
I think we started by the impact on the direct beneficiaries,
yes,
the
on
kids.
the participants, the kids. Yeah.
The kids, and then we extended it to their parents.
Mm-hmm.
But now I think it's the right time to ask the question of the impact of such a program on
the musicians and the social workers who are facilitating the program. Yes.
Yeah.
When you listen to other episodes of the podcast, you will hear musicians talking about how it impacted their lives as musicians also, and how they somehow play differently their music in concert, and also how their connection with the audiences has changed through this work, this involvement in social music projects. Yes. In DEMOS, you also propose training and accompaniment of musicians and social workers, like regular seminars, and so is this also in line of what you just said, that you're more and more interested in what the impact can be on the life of musicians and social workers.
Yeah, and considering that one of the first pillar of DEMOS, of this musical and pedagogical innovation in the project, the first pillar is the cooperation between professionals from different fields to form plural education team accompanying the children. So yeah, this question
you have
is
a
fundamental.
kind of double accompaniment, not only musical pedagogy, how to learn to master an instrument and a repertoire, but also people who are capable to follow up on the psychological and social situation of the kids involved.
Exactly. Each group of 15 in an orchestra, which contains 7 groups. Each group of 15 is followed by 2 musicians and 1 social worker.
And a social worker is already in contact with the area where the kids come from, with their parents, with their the clubs or the associations that they're involved in, and so on. So this person can be in touch with the kids and their families outside of the DEMOS music program.
Absolutely, and they are in charge of the enrollment of children at the beginning of the project. The social workers. They identify the children who can benefit from the program in their neighborhood.
They can also call them and ask them, "Where are you? We have a music lesson now."
Yeah,
and,
during the time of the project. Yes, that's their fundamental role. Also. And we try to keep track of the children after the project, and that's something that the social workers who were in contact with the children at the time of the DEMOS project, that's something that they on which they can help a lot, because now we record the contact of the children.
Yes.
Thing that we didn't have at the beginning of the project.
You try to keep in touch with them.
Yes, and through the social workers.
To invite them to upcoming concerts and so
we started. We had a study addressing the long-term impact of demos on the children who participated in the first phase of demos, 2010-2012. And they were invited to the concert in 2019. So after 7 years after they finished the program, and they were like so happy to come back.
So so like the educators and the social workers, they can be of big help if they know the kids in advance, and often they do. They have been coming across the kids or their families in other circumstances. Thank you very much, Indiana. The Philharmonie de Paris and its social music program DEMOS will be hosting the 6th International Symposium on the 2nd and 3rd of November 2021. The program of this year's symposium will soon be published on the websites of SIMM, of the Philharmonie de Paris, and of our partner, the Fondation Royaumont. SIMM is the initiative of scholars and practitioners from 7 different countries and 4 different continents who felt the growing need to find ways to bring together people interested in developing research on the possible role music can play in social and community music programs. Sound engineer and co-editor of this episode of the SIMM-podcast is musician Mariusz Radwanski. Please visit our website at simm-platform.eu.